can bonsai right at home. It's never been easier with the DIY kit from Bonsai Bar. Meet your sensei, Josh!
Okay, welcome to your DIY kit walkthrough with Bonsai Bar. In your kit here, we have a 5-inch ceramic pot. We have a piece of nursery stock, some aluminum wire, a chopstick, as well as some bonsai soil. And here's a care card that will give you some aftercare instructions. A couple things that don't come in your kit that you will definitely want to have are a pair of scissors, and if you have a pair of pliers, sometimes those can be nice to have on you as well. Okay, so the first thing you want to do, check out your tree. Use a little 2 fingers, gently pull it from the nursery pot. The first step here is finding the nebari, which nebari is distinctive root flare on a tree's trunk. It's kind of an illusion, making a younger tree look older, literally like the roots are outlasting the earth around it. And so we're going to use our chopstick as a digging tool, and we're going to slowly pull back the top layer of soil. You'll be able to see the nebari here, really that first distinct root flare on the tree. So you want to make sure to clean those up and make sure they're prominent. In bonsai, a tree is designed always with the perspective of the viewer in mind. So every tree has a front. So take a look at your tree and decide what you think the front is. Keeping that in mind, we're gonna check out our 5-inch pot here. Try to visualize how much of the root ball we need to remove to properly pot this. You can see all these matted roots. We loosen those up with our chopstick, and then you can just pull those back, loosen them up with your fingers even. We'll free up any of those matted roots and cut them back. Going evenly around the whole tree, trimming it back into a nice symmetrical root ball. Any flyaway roots, sometimes they'll be super long roots and we don't need those. You can just trim those to about the size of all the other roots. If it's not an aesthetic choice that's gonna add to the final composition, you can go ahead and just remove it. All right, so now it's time to pot up our tree. We want to make sure we have the front positioned just how we want it. We have a pinky's width worth of space between the root ball and the edge of the pot. So we're going to grab our bonsai soil. The bonsai soil that we use is parts diatomaceous earth and pine bark. We use it because it breaks down a lot slower than organic nursery soil. It helps keep the trees healthy. So to start, you want to pour a mound of the soil right in the center of your pot. And you want to make sure that the mound goes all the way up to the lip of your pot. Next, we take our tree, we put it right on top there. We kind of work in the tree down into position. So once we have it where we like it, we're going to take the zip ties and we're going to fasten it on either side of the trunk. Think about it kind of like a pair of suspenders. Get it finger tight as you can, and so to avoid putting any stress on that nice nebari that we've prepped, what we can do is we can slip the zip ties underneath any nebari that might get in the way. If you feel like your tree's a little wiggly, a nice trick is to take some pliers to tighten the zip ties before you cut them off. But usually finger tight is good enough. You can use your chopstick to tuck down any roots that are sticking out precariously. The last step here is we're going to take our bonsai soil and we're going to pour some more around the sides of the trunk. Take your chopstick and work the bonsai soil down and around as densely as we can the root ball, filling any air gaps that we may have created in the potting process. And you can just use as much or as little bonsai soil as you like once you get looking how you want it to. Okay, styling. What we're aiming to do is give this young tree some of the characteristics of an ancient tree, right? For example, older trees don't have leaves super close to their trunk line. They develop pads at the end of their branches. So one of the first things you can do is just clean off some of those leaves close to the trunk line. You'll be able to see what's going on with your branching pattern better too. There's a quote by a bonsai icon, John Naka, in which he says, when styling a bonsai, you want to leave enough room for the birds to fly through. And so with that in mind, I always encourage people to try to create space and make some aggressive kind of aesthetic decisions early on, and it'll pay off down the line. Just kind of going through and removing any branches that we know we definitely don't want in our final composition. So when we're pruning, there is a right and wrong way to do it, right? Each of these leaves on the dwarf jade here is actually a dormant branch. When we're pruning our trees, we want to make sure that we're making the cut as close as we can to the leaves that we want at the end of the branch. This will create a seamless branching pattern versus having some dead wood at the end of our branch. So wiring is another technique we can use to style our trees. Using the wire lets you give the branches some funk and some personality that they wouldn't otherwise have, especially for a young tree like this. If we wire our trees correctly after 6 months or a year of the wire being on there, you can take it off and it'll be like the branch had always grown in that position. So when you're wiring, there's things to keep in mind. You have to wire 2 branches at the same time. So pick 2 branches that you'd like to wire. You want to start from the trunk and move outward on the first branch, creating even spacing and a 45-degree angle to the end of the branch. Don't feel like you need to use all the wire. You can always just trim off extra wire. A 45-degree angle gives you the most strength and functionality out of the wire. Make sure you're doing 1 full revolution around the trunk with the wire. Once you have your tree styled how you like, you're all done. Congrats on completing your first bonsai here. All the aftercare instructions should be included on the care card. Be sure to drop us a line if you have any questions. Yeah, go on and love your little trees. We'll see you next time.